Whether you drive a car,
need a car,
or just occasionally bum a ride with friends,
you've come to the right place.
Join Jill and Tom as they break down everything that's going on in the auto world.
New car reviews,
Shopping tips,
driving green,
electric cars,
classic cars,
and plenty of great guests.
This is the Consumer Guide Car Stuff Podcast.
This is the Car Stuff Podcast. I'm Tom. Thanks for joining us this week. When you get a chance, do me a favor. Do me a solid, as Sipowicz used to say, and check us out at consumerguide.com. Lots of new stuff there, our 2025 Best Buy picks, lots of great reviews, some fun stuff, some classic stuff, and you can listen to the podcast right there on our homepage, though you should subscribe. You should subscribe and leave us reviews. You should do that.
Yes.
That's all we ask.
Leave a review.
We're not asking too much.
Well, leave a positive review.
That voice, they tend to be.
Yeah, they do.
Except for my wife.
Yeah.
She gave us 4 stars out of a possible 5. Like what? One of our only 4-star reviews came from blood.
Well, not blood, because you married her.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Had my daughter done that,
that would be blood.
that would have been cruel.
Yeah.
All right. That voice is Jill Ciminillo, managing editor of Pickup Truck Plus SUV Talk, North American Car of the Year juror, and donut eater.
I am eating a peppermint-flavored donut.
Is it good?
It is actually better than I thought it would be.
There's this giant thing here that we think is a cinnamon roll covered with something.
I think it's cream cheese icing.
That sounds good.
Eh.
That sounds good. I would eat that. All right.
okay.
I haven't asked you yet today. How you doing?
I'm doing well.
I got an email recently from Rhonda at Ford.
Okay.
She's passing this around. We talked a little bit about it a couple of weeks ago. Mm-hmm. But Ford has some winter driving tips.
Yes.
And they're basically the same tip. Use your app. Use your app.
Use your app. Use your app. Pre-warm your vehicle. Use your app. Pre-warming your vehicle. Use your app. Yeah.
And precondition your vehicle for charging.
Yes.
You remember last year there was that disaster at roughly Rosemont, Illinois, outside of O'Hare.
Oh, yeah.
Where it got suddenly very, very, very cold in Chicago. And all these Tesla models had been left outside for a long time in the cold. And it got cold and their battery capacity had been compromised by the cold. So they wanted to charge. This makes sense. People wanted to charge before heading home wherever they live. Right? And if it's O'Hare, it could be as far as Wisconsin or Indiana, something like that. And the problem was it was so cold that the batteries wouldn't take a charge.
Yeah.
Now, this sounds like a horrible flaw in the car, but it's actually not. Before you charge a vehicle in the deep cold, you should precondition your battery.
Yeah.
A thing which just happens automatically if you use your app to schedule an appointment at a supercharger.
Well, and also if you, a lot of vehicles, if you use the native navigation system, and this, well, I'm not going to go into it, but if you use the native navigation system and you program in like Electrify America, it will automatically precondition your vehicle.
Because it knows you're about to charge.
Yes.
So, and that's one of the things in the Ford message.
Yes.
Yes, if you're going to charge someplace remotely, a level 3 DC fast charger, not at home, you want to precondition your battery, you will charge more quickly.
Yes.
Or in the case of an extremely cold night in Rosemont, Illinois, you will charge as opposed to not charging at all.
Yes.
So,
yeah, and so, I mean, all EVs do the preconditioning differently. And so if you own an EV or are thinking about buying an EV, ask that question of the dealership because not all of them will precondition just by programming it into the native navigation.
Good
Sometimes
point.
you have to, I feel like Kia and Hyundai, you actually have to go into like the EV charging section of your infotainment system and hit precondition.
there you go.
Yeah.
So you want to check that out.
Yeah.
Also, every manufacturer of an EV has great videos on YouTube that tell you how to do this stuff.
Yes.
It's a little thing. It'll become normal at some point.
Yes.
So there you have it. So that's cool. So the other point is, why not have your vehicle toasty when you get outside?
Yeah.
Or in
Use
your
your app.
garage. Use the app. And while your car is plugged in, it can be warming up for you, and you're using your house power, not your battery.
Yeah, and I will say I don't always have access to the app when I'm testing vehicles, and a lot of electric vehicles have quote-unquote remote start. And so, like, there very often I'll be standing in my kitchen window and I will click the remote start button to get the vehicle to pre-warm since I don't have access to the app.
My neighbors have remote start on a 25-year-old Camry that does not have a muffler.
Oh, God.
Irritating.
Yeah.
But
an EV, not irritating. No sound.
Not an EV. This is a Camry with a bad muffler.
Yeah.
Canoo
Okay.
Canoo, Canoo.
Speaking of EVs.
Speaking of EVs, this startup manufacturer, which seemed promising, was cranking out some really great-looking designs. Kind of bubble futuristic space shuttle-looking things. They were good-looking cars. I guess they were technically reasonably sophisticated. They were in bad way a few months ago, a year and a half ago.
Okay.
Walmart took an interest in the company. Walmart, the retailer.
Walmart.
Bought 4,500 vehicles.
Okay.
Took an interest in the stake, and they have a strike point I don't understand at $2.15. The stock never got there.
Right.
It looks like Canoo is on its last legs. I don't know if it ever delivered those vehicles to Walmart or not, but there are, if you go to their site, there are a lot of Walmart painted vehicles being advertised there. So it looks like some got out there for delivery vehicles, but it sounds like Canoo it's on its way out.
Okay. Not all the new automakers get to make it.
No, they don't. And we said goodbye to Fisker already.
Yes.
Hey, you know what? I'm doing a year-end show with Green Sense Radio. I need to write this down.
Okay.
Goodbye, Canoo.
Goodbye, Canoo. Well, speaking of EV automakers that I think still have a fighting chance, Lucid.
I think Lucid's going to make it.
Yeah, they started production on their Gravity.
Which is their new midsize luxury vehicle. It's more expensive
SUV.
than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
It's like $80,000, $90,000.
I don't know. I figured it was going to be expensive.
I had hoped it was going to be more reasonable. At first, I thought they were talking about, and I might have been wrong, a compact vehicle that was going to come in around $40,000. Maybe that's next.
Maybe. I've not heard that.
But I think Lucid's going to make it.
Okay.
There's a lot of Arab money there.
Oh, yeah, fair.
There's the Arab Wealth Fund, I forgot what it's called, but they're into this for a lot of money. And they're talking about building these things in Saudi Arabia, which is crazy because I can't imagine that's reasonably priced labor.
Yeah.
But it is a highly automated process, so who knows?
Yeah.
But I think Lucid's going to make it. We know Rivian, which is now sitting on bundles of cash from Volkswagen, and literally in bags that just have dollar marks on them. They're just sitting on those.
They're in the gear tunnel of the R1Ts that have yet to be sold.
Yeah. Also, enthusiasts are waiting for the R2 and R3, which look fantastic.
Yes, they do.
So
very exciting.
Subcompact and compact crossover. So I think they're going to make it too.
Yeah.
So that's good news. I have a question for you, and this is a question for listeners.
Okay, I'm like, I may or may not have an answer. What do you got?
Someone get back to me. Carstuff@consumerguide.com. That's carstuff@consumerguide.com.
Okay.
I have a lot of trouble with Bluetooth.
Okay.
And I don't think it's because I'm old. I think I live in a really weird area where Bluetooth is disrupted because the problem is also in my house. I had a Bluetooth keyboard.
Maybe it's just you.
Which seems haunted. It just starts typing things that...
I feel like this is a you problem.
I don't think so. Have you ever been... back when we used to do this differently, you'd go to an auto show and there'd be a press room and there'd be 1,000 people crammed in there, a lot of them with Bluetooth keyboards, and the guy next to you's stuff would start showing up on your screen?
No.
Because Bluetooth only has so many channels.
I'm like, no.
All right.
No, I never have had that happen.
That was a thing.
So I live in an apartment building, and I will say I do occasionally get pinged by my neighbor's computer, like they're trying to access something on my computer, and I'm just like, no, go away.
So I'm wondering if for some reason in my neighborhood something, and I don't think it's Spunky Dunkers, something is messing with Bluetooth because it's working in my office, and every time I get into a car, I lose my Bluetooth connection and I have to reconnect my phone, a thing which happens more easily if I drive away from my house.
Interesting. I have had some vehicles, and I couldn't tell you which vehicles specifically, where I've connected and then I get back into the vehicle and I have to go through like some hoops to get it to reconnect again. But usually I don't have a problem. I get into the vehicle and my phone automatically pairs with the system. And
I used to enjoy that. I don't anymore.
So something recently has changed in your neighborhood then.
I think in the last year or so. It's also happening to my Bose SoundLink 3 Bluetooth speaker, where it disconnects every time I use it. So it's definitely something. I don't know if people live in apartment buildings that can talk about this. You live in a big office building. If you're losing Bluetooth, I'm just interested in the phenomena.
So let me ask you this. Is it your phone? Is your phone the common denominator?
No, because the keyboard doesn't involve the phone.
because I was going to say, I wonder if there is some kind of software update that happened that is like causing the glitch between your outdated phone and the newer Bluetooth technology.
Well, thank you for insulting my phone.
You're welcome.
But yes, it is a very old iPhone.
Okay, so I don't know. There could be something there, but that would not affect your keyboard.
It could be all the crazy gaming that my daughter does.
Yeah, let's blame your daughter.
All right, that's easy.
Okay, cool.
She owes me.
Poor
All
Harper.
right. Before we run out of time, you drove an interesting vehicle. Interesting because it was renamed.
Yes.
I'm not going to call it a sexy rename either.
No, it is absolutely the worst possible rename they could have done.
And the reason this is happening, and let's just tease this before we
Okay.
get to it, is that this company has an international naming standard,
They do.
especially for its non-crossover, non-trucks.
Yeah.
And those are being applied to the U.S.
Yes.
Take it away, Joe.
I drove the 2025 Kia K4, which replaces the aforementioned, or not aforementioned, but the previous Kia Forte.
Yeah, which was a good car.
Yeah, and the Kia K4, also a very good car. I would say, so I wrote my review for you, and in the article, I argue that it's probably the most significant vehicle I've driven this year.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, that's very broad-minded of you.
Well, so here's the thing, because, when I'm looking at cars and I'm thinking about the significance of a vehicle, I'm looking at technology, yeah. I'm looking at drivability, yeah. I'm looking at user experience. I'm looking at any number of things. But another thing that I'm looking at is price. And so, and I mentioned this in the article, while I loved the Dodge Charger Daytona, and I really got a kick out of, the Volkswagen ID Buzz that I drove recently and we talked about, both of those are really pricey. And so, they've got all the other things going for them, but they don't have price. And I feel like the Kia K4 has all of the things.
I am beginning to wonder if we have seen complete contraction of the sedan market. So the Accord, the Camry, they're still around. Mm-hmm. There's not much left there. The Altima's there, but it's going away. Mm-hmm. So those are your mid-size sedans. Mm-hmm. And those two remaining sedans sell in big numbers.
Yep.
So there is an audience for those. And I don't know if it's for good sedans or if it's specifically for Toyotas or Hondas, which are traditionally excellent sedans. But in this segment, there's still players. Mm-hmm. This is compact sedans now. And the Civic, almost 190,000 units so far this year. Mm-hmm. The Corolla, almost 180. The Sentra, a nice car, 125,000 units. Mm-hmm. And then the Elantra and the Forte. So the Hyundai and Kia, basically versions of the same vehicle, both over 100,000 already. Mm-hmm. The only dogs in the segment, sales-wise, are the Versa and the Impreza. And that's the Nissan and the Subaru. And I think the problem with the Versa is it might be just a little too low end.
Could be.
Like people want something.
I love the Versa.
I do too. And I think it's an extraordinary value, but I think people want a little more from their car. A little less NVH, noise, vibration, and harshness. Yeah. And maybe a little more equipment and just feeling a little bit bigger.
Right.
And substantial.
It could be, because it definitely feels small.
And then the Impreza, which is an excellent car, people don't seem to want it, or they're buying the Crosstrek.
Well,
the Subaru Crosstrek.
I think the Impreza is a little bit expensive for that class because it has standard all-wheel drive.
Good point.
Yeah.
So the other thing that's happened in this class, and we talked about this when I reviewed the Sentra a couple of months ago, these vehicles are bigger than they used to be.
Yeah.
So to some extent, they serve the purpose of a midsize sedan.
And the I was going to call it the Forte. The K4 is bigger and wider than the previous Forte, and it has more legroom in the back. Even though it's a compact sedan, it is fairly roomy. But what I really like about the K4 is the fact that you have all of this stuff. The base price is under $25,000. And during the press presentation, I'll be honest, I didn't research it, but they said
base price is
$23,000.
That's excellent.
Including destination fees.
Yeah.
And during the press preview, they made the and so like the without destination, it is less than $22,000, and they said that there are only 8 vehicles left in the entire market that cost less than $22,000.
I don't even know what they are.
I mean, Nissan Kicks is going to be one of them. Sentra Versa probably too.
Is Kicks still into it? Because Kicks was just redesigned.
I think it is just maybe
probably
under
the front
base.
drive version.
Yeah, and so but when you look at vehicles available, and I say under $25,000, there are less than 10. There are not many, and so I feel like this is an impressive value. You have a really good powertrain. And
what are the powertrains now? So
you have a 2.0 liter 4-cylinder engine as the base powertrain. I want to say it delivers 147 horsepower.
So I think that's carryover.
Yeah, and then you have the 1.6 liter turbocharged engine. I think also carry over 196 horsepower. I think it's 196. It's like 190 something.
It's right there. Yeah.
Yeah, and I this is probably going to be unpopular, but I liked the base 2.0 liter because it didn't have any lag and it had very consistent power.
If you're driving around the city, if you commute in like a high density area, you might like the bigger, older, less peaky horsepower version.
Yeah.
Because you're going to get better power away from a stop.
Yeah.
It's just because the turbo was fine. A little noisy.
Noisy and laggy.
Peaky.
It was laggy for me as well.
Yeah, back in the old days when you used to get stick, that would be a perfect match.
Exactly.
But automatics aren't like that anymore. So nice interior.
Yeah, I mean, so we were driving GT line models, so the GT line and the GT line turbo. We didn't have the LX, the EX, or the LXS. I think that's what that is. That's the other trim.
So 5 trim levels? 5
trim levels.
Okay.
So we were driving top tier trims, and they had every option on it. So as tested, the vehicles were like $28,000 and $31,000, but still to have blind view monitoring, lane keep assist, adaptive cruise control, leatherette seating surfaces, all of the whistles and bells and wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, all of the things under like $35,000.
The funny thing, I grinned a little bit when you started talking about the price and the number of trim levels, and it seems almost silly, and it's probably not. I'm sure Kia did its market research, but it seems almost silly to have 5 trim levels between like $24,000 and $31,000. It's like it's also affordable, and the jumps are so small. It's like, well, yes, I will have an appetizer and dessert. Yeah,
well, and the interesting thing is when you look at the bottom 3 trims, they only increase by $1,000 as you level up in the trim.
Yeah, I mean, there are people who buy things that marginally. Mm-hmm. You're young, you got your first job, you just moved out, you don't want to pay a lot. Mm-hmm. You don't want to make that extra grand. An extra grand is another $10 a month or something, and you don't want to do it. Yeah. So it makes sense, especially when you're dealing with probably very price-sensitive buyers. Yeah. But it does seem funny to split the segment so finely. Yeah, and it's very interesting. And so each trim obviously is going to add a few more things, but even the base LX trim is going to have the wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, a 12.3-inch infotainment screen. And so I don't know. I think that what Kia offers is incredibly impressive and significant. Cool. All right. Yeah. So this vehicle goes on sale when?
Imminently, so soon. Yeah.
I'm going to just have a conversation that we should have had off air, on air. Okay. But have you driven the new Camry?
I have.
I would like to talk about that vehicle at some length in the future, simply because now it's hybrid only.
Okay, yeah.
And one of the more interesting things about that vehicle to me is the that you can now load the top trim level up with a very serious package.
Okay.
So is it the LX? I forgot what it's called, but the top trim level, there's a $5,000 package, which basically gets you a Lexus. So there's a value question there I want to propose, ask.
You know what the K4 and the Camry have in common?
No.
They are both North American Car of the Year finalists.
Oh.
Along with the Honda Civic Hybrid.
If I couldn't breathe again until I had guessed that, I would die.
Because, the K4 and the Camry, what do they have in common? Essentially nothing.
So we're talking about how the sedan market is shrinking, but you know what's growing? The pickup market.
Yeah.
In the next segment, we are joined by Damon Bell of Cars.com to talk about big pickups. Cars.com did a very big, very extensive, very thorough comparison of 3 big pickups. We'll talk about that in a moment.
Awesome.
Stick around.
Questions or comments?
Drop us a line at carstuff@consumerguide.com.
That's carstuff@consumerguide.com. Welcome back to the Car Stuff Podcast.
So, big secret, that's me playing guitar.
Yeah, no, it's not.
All right. This is the Car Stuff Podcast. We're back. Jill, how's it going?
Number 2, still doing okay.
All right.
Thank you.
All right.
I'm still eating my donut.
I want to know what the big thing is.
Then eat it.
Well, I will, but I can't really eat and talk.
Oh, I
bad at
have no
that.
such problem or compunction.
I see that.
Yeah.
I see that. Help me out here real quick.
You are on only 2 social media.
I'm on Facebook too, but it's not
That
car
doesn't
stuff.
really count.
Yeah,
No.
it's not car stuff.
No.
All right. Yeah, I am on Twitter and I am on X, and that's the same thing. And I'm on Blue Sky,
Yes.
and I'm Car Guy Tom on all three.
You sound very
Hesitant?
reluctant and yeah.
I don't know why.
Okay.
It's the caffeine kicking in.
Wait, you had caffeine?
I guess actually I haven't had much of it.
I know you've only had a couple of sips. I'm
going
very
to hit it hard
disappointed.
now because
Okay.
I'm not really that worried about having to take a bathroom break. So I
Well,
can
you
just
to want me to
pound that.
have a soliloquy again?
No.
Okay.
All right.
People seem to like that, by the way.
Yeah, I got a lot of questions about it.
To be or not to be?
Alrighty.
Sorry.
On
Okay.
the phone with us is
Yes.
our old friend Damon Bell. Damon is, I have his title right here, Senior Research Editor at Cars.com. Cars.com does, through the year, a series of very impressive, very thorough, and very useful car comparison tests. And Damon's here to talk about one they just did a pickup. Damon, how's it going?
It's going well. I had a bathroom break, so I'm all set there. Unfortunately, I wish I was there in studio so I could pilfer one of those donuts, but I realize that I do have some kringle in the freezer. Have you guys ever had a kringle before?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is a bakery somewhere north of here. My wife used to pass there for work, and she would bring home kringle.
There's a place in Racine, Wisconsin. I think it's called O&H.
That's it. I think that's it. Yeah.
Yes.
Do you have cherry kringle?
I have had it in the past. The one I have in my freezer right now is almond. It's got that kind of marzipan type paste.
Oh.
That seems to be kind of a popular German thing.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that every kringle has, I would wager, a stick and a half of butter in it.
I hope, at
yeah.
least.
Yeah.
Now, for people who don't know what kringle is, because I think it's kind of Midwestern, kringle is basically a Danish that has been put through the ringer in a cold panini press.
Well, it's a ring, right? It's like, God, you could fit like a full-size basketball inside it. That's about the diameter of it.
But short.
It's like it's a piece. It's the size of like a medium to large pizza, but it's just a ring, hollow inside,
and
nothing inside.
Most importantly, it's very good.
Yes, delicious.
It's very good.
Freezes very well too. Yes.
All right, that's been the cooking portion of our show. Damon, you guys did a big truck comparison. Tell us about it.
Yes, we recently published our 2024 full-size pickup truck challenge, and I know I'm biased, but I gotta say it is a doozy. Like, there is just so much information here. It's accompanied by a 50-minute YouTube video, which sounds like a long time, but that time is it needed to be that long because so many different things are covered. It's the 2025 Ram Tungsten, and then there was a Ford 2024 Ford F-150 Platinum, and then also a 24 GMC Sierra Denali Ultimate. Those are the three contenders.
One of the points that you make early on in this, or the folks at Cars make on, these vehicles all cost between $87,000 and $90,000.
Yes.
This is all the pickup truck you can buy.
Yes. In terms of half-ton, non-heavy duty pickups, this is about the top of the tier here. And as I read this content, I was, wow, $87,000 to $90,000 sounds insane.
It does.
But then when you start to factor in everything that these pickups can do and the capabilities they have, and especially in the case of the Ram, it was the top end flagship tungsten model, and I'm sure you guys have been in that as well.
Yep.
It is a full-on luxury vehicle inside. No compromises whatsoever. So, and it's not that much more expensive than the $87K-ish GMC and Ford too. So yes, while the prices are sky high, the luxury and the capability and just what these trucks can do is up there as well.
Yeah, and I want to make a point real quick. Jill's got her hand raised, but before we leave price, people are paying this for these vehicles.
Yes.
So the value
Otherwise, they wouldn't cost that much.
Right. They seem expensive. They are expensive. It's a lot of money. Yeah. But the value seems to be there because people are paying this money for these vehicles. And as someone at Ford's once said to me, we can't make a vehicle too expensive. We're talking about the F-150. So consumers are looking for this level of luxury and capability.
Right.
Sorry to cut you off.
No, that's okay. Just before we really dig into this, I'm just wondering why these 3 pickup trucks and why we don't see the Toyota Tundra on here or the Chevy Silverado.
Honestly, it boils down to availability.
Okay.
And yeah, it's just and the logistics, it didn't work out for others to be included, so it's just domestics. But yes, again, given the breadth of the testing, and the Tundra certainly has high-end trims as well. It would have been neat to see how it stacked up, but yeah, it's the 3 domestic vehicles, and there's a ton of different parameters of these trucks tested.
Yeah, and the GMC is a good proxy for the Chevy anyway.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
The GMC can kind of be a stand-in for the Chevy Silverado.
I don't mean to interrupt the flow of this, but I just destroyed a donut.
There's going to be a photo somewhere of this because I'm like, what the heck did you just do to this donut? He took out one of the rings and put it back in the box.
I didn't know this donut was modular.
Who would do that? You put it back in the box. Nobody's going to eat that.
But
I guess he'll have to.
Yeah.
I totally will. But back to the trucks. You guys did rank these 3. So let's talk about what it was you guys made your decision on.
Yeah. So, spoiler alert: the Ram Tungsten won, and that was based on a compilation of both kind of objective ratings. And you can see this all in the article. There's a chart that lists every facet of the vehicle, of the trucks that was tested, and which truck came out on top and which was at the bottom in each category. So it's a combination of, quarter mile drag strip times, acceleration times, towing, and braking, and then of course like more subjective things as well, like the luxuriousness of the interior and just overall feel. So a ton of different things kind of factored into the rankings.
And one of the things I thought was so interesting going through the rankings, which I had a difficult time printing out, but it seemed to me that the Ram won the most categories and that the Ford seemed to lose the most categories.
Yeah, by a lot.
Yes.
And that the GMC just seemed to cruise in the middle for almost the entire.
Yes.
Like it was the least controversial vehicle.
Yeah, and I guess the biggest takeaway, the thing that I would want to point out the most is that, yes, the Tungsten won, but you really want to look through the whole article, because how you intend to use your full-size pickup greatly affects the rankings. Like if you want, like of the 3, there's only one of them that has the Pro Power onboard generator, and that's the Ford. In many categories, the F-150 seemed to be the most work-oriented truck.
Interesting.
And if that's, if you're using a full-size pickup for work duties, the F-150 might rise in your rankings, even though by the parameters of this test, it didn't get as high.
Yeah, and looking at this, one of the other things that I'm noticing, and this is a particular pain point for me in one direction and a pain point for you in a different direction, visibility. The Ford F-150 wins by a lot in terms of visibility.
I saw that.
And you know why I think that is because of the kick-down windows, which
Absolutely.
lowers the side mirrors, which gives you better visibility. Plus, like the hood scoop isn't huge on the F-150 either.
Explain the kick-down windows.
Yeah, so the kick-down window is essentially at the front near the A-pillar. The window kicks down about 4 inches, which essentially lowers the side mirror kind of into that kick-down space, and then it creates better visibility over the top of that side mirror, and it has a lower belt line. It just works better for people like me.
It's interesting to think of that as functional, because I also think of it as a design element on F-150s, or F-Series pickups, really, because it's on the big trucks, too.
Mm-hmm. I love that feature.
Yeah, and by contrast, the GMC Sierra and, of course, by extension, the Chevy Silverado as well, those have such big, blocky front ends with a hood that juts out, bolts up, straight across. There's not much of a drop down to it. So, that really does impede forward visibility, and it's kind of compromised in the visibility is kind of compromised in other directions as well.
So you guys chose 3 very distinctly different powertrains for this.
That's
right?
how it ended up. Yeah, and honestly, to me, that's one of the most fascinating things about this comparison is how different the powertrains are in each of the pickups. And the Ram Tungsten has got that new high output Hurricane turbo 6-cylinder. The Ford F-150 is the hybrid version that's a hybridized V6. And then the Sierra is totally old school with a 6.2 liter V8.
For people who don't know, and it's a distant relative, the 6.2 liter V8 is actually related to the engine under the hood of the Corvette. They're not close relatives. There's a lot different there, but they are based on the same thing. So you could brag that if you wanted to, like at a bar. Hey baby, hey baby.
If your target at the bar though really knew their trucks, they could say, yeah, but it was in last place in the acceleration test. The 6.2 used to be the hot rod of the group.
It was,
but in this test, the F-150 hybrid and the Tungsten both beat it, though all the testers agreed that the Sierra Denali sounded the coolest.
That's a good noise. That is. I complain a lot about tuned exhausts, and you and I, Damon, have had this conversation offline. I find tuned exhaust noise a little silly, but the GMC just sounds good. That 6.2 just sounds good. So so power, that the 6.2 didn't quite make it. What about fuel economy?
That was very interesting as well, because not surprisingly, the F-150 and its hybrid powertrain came out on top, but the gap between the Ford and the other 2 trucks wasn't quite as big as you would imagine. And I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but it was within like a couple miles per gallon. And then there was fuel economy while trailering as well. And of course, that was a big drop for all 3 trucks. Yeah. But again, the gap between them, you might expect that the hybrid F-150 would have finished with a much better or a higher fuel economy number than the other 2 than it did.
The interesting thing about the Hurricane inline 6-cylinder engine at Stellantis, I think, is that the benefit there is not fuel economy. I have seen in personal testing slight improvements in fuel economy over old Hemi things. Your real improvement is more power and actually smoothness.
Yeah.
Yes. And the testers agreed that this Hurricane 6-cylinder engine would not feel out of place at all in a traditional luxury sedan. Like, it's that smooth and that refined.
Yeah, it's crazy. Hey, Damon, we're running out of time here real quick, but you had mentioned that each of these vehicles, regardless of how they finished in your testing, had very specific applications at which they seemed best suited for. What are those?
Off the top of my head, you'll have to, again, the content is so far-reaching that I don't have everything off the top of my head, but interestingly, especially given that it's something of the old school contender among the 3, the Sierra F-150 was the unanimous choice for towing.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, and it napped that accolade just because of how smooth and planted it felt when towing a trailer. But we should also be pointed out that the F-150 has some truly remarkable new towing technology features that make hooking up to a trailer a lot easier.
Yeah.
The specific Sierra that was tested in this comparison did not have that. But again, on the road, towing a trailer, the Sierra felt the best. And that's something too to consider with all of these, is there are the hard numbers and the objective comparisons, but there is a lot of how does it feel by the seat of your pants, and how do you feel when you're in it? So, this can be a great starting point, but I think a consumer is really going to want to test drive those and see how, they look one way on paper, And that is helpful, but you really need to get behind the wheel to get the full story.
Yeah, and that's an awesome point. One of the fears that I have as we move forward in this business is that people are test driving less and less and less.
Yeah.
And we talked about Tesla a lot in a recent show, and people who buy Teslas often don't test drive them. They just order them and take delivery. And in this case, especially when you're buying a big truck and you're laying out $90K for a really cool big truck, you want to make sure it's the truck you want.
Yeah.
Yes. One other thing I would point out too, while this particular test, it was the top fully loaded luxury models, but a lot of the results and a lot of the impressions completely apply to quote unquote lesser vehicles in the respective, Ram, GMC, and Ford lineups, and they'll apply, the way that the engine feels. And other elements are going to be applicable to more mainstream versions of these trucks as well.
Excellent point. Damon, we're flat out of time. How can people, we will link to this, but how can people read more?
You can go to cars.com/news, and all the 2024 full-size pickup comparison content is at the top of the page.
Sounds good. Damon, Happy New Year. Take care, sir.
Thanks. You too.
All right. That was Damon Bell with cars.com. We're going to take a break, and when we come back...
Quiz time.
Quiz time.
Questions or comments?
Drop us a line at carstuff@consumerguide.com.
That's carstuff@consumerguide.com. Welcome back to the Car Stuff Podcast.
All right, we're back. I'm Tom. She's Jill. This is the Car Stuff Podcast. Jill, do you know what commercial breaks are for?
So that you can go pee?
Eating donuts.
Oh, I was like, so that you can go pee instead of leaving me to do soliloquies in the middle of the show?
I should not. This is a me thing, and I should not drink 3 or 4 Diet Pepsis before I come here.
You should not drink 3 or 4 Pepsis, period.
Right.
Like, period.
Point taken.
Drink coffee instead.
Point taken. That's not where I was going with this. It's to eat donuts.
Okay.
Also not healthy.
No.
But that frosted cinnamon twist thing, oh my God, that's good.
Yeah, I didn't want the icing.
Wait, Randy, did you like it? Yeah, Randy's on board. Producer Randy liked the donut.
I'm not trying it.
But it is just the cinnamon twist with like some sort of cream cheese frosting.
Yeah.
Yum.
Ugh.
All right, whatever.
Yeah, I know.
We did this show out of order, so I'm a little discombobulated, but I think we're good. It is quiz time.
Yes.
And you're going to talk about...
social media.
Social media. I've heard of that.
Yes. I am on it, and you can find me in most of the social medias out there at Jill Ciminillo, Blue Sky, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. I forget about YouTube a lot. TikTok. I'm on all the things.
TomChat.
TomChat. No, I'm not on TomChat.
I'm not yet either, but I will.
You should create it.
Yeah.
You know, because you're Tom and you chat. But
I do.
You do.
Not in an organized fashion, but yeah.
No, but yeah, I also use the hashtag car du jour. And so if Ciminillo is too difficult to spell, you can search for car du jour.
There you go.
Yeah.
Social media. I never mentioned Facebook, but people can follow me on Facebook. I don't talk about cars on Facebook.
Okay.
I do post pictures of the cars I've been driving, though.
Yeah.
So, like, I recently posted pictures of the BMW i5, which is topical because it comes up in the quiz in a moment.
Okay.
Are you ready?
No, because I want to talk about Facebook for a hot minute.
Oh.
No, I'm just going to say, like, people can follow me there. I don't necessarily accept the friend request, but definitely follow me because I do put a lot of car content on there.
There's a lot of running crap, though.
Well, but I haven't been running.
I'm sorry, running stuff.
I haven't been running, although I will say I am in physical therapy right now, and I've been working on this hamstring issue that I've been having, and there is going to be more running crap coming up in the future.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that.
You should, and I'm hoping I'll be able to jump back into either half marathon or marathon training this summer.
I haven't seen anything recently. Dave Sloan, our friend Dave Sloan, an accomplished runner. Has he done anything recently? He's retired now.
Yeah, from the Chicago Automobile Trade Association.
Recently posted a picture of him with a grandchild.
Yes.
Adorbs.
Yes. I feel like he does some little races here and there. I think he's done some races with his son. He may have done Chicago this year at the marathon.
I don't remember seeing that, and usually I see it.
He posts it. Well, so I have an automotive running group that I created.
Really?
For people in the automotive industry who are
Wow.
runners. I know. So he posts in there, and so I do see some of the stuff that he posts. I think he might have done Chicago this year, but yeah, I'm all in on the running thing, and I understand that not everybody wants to see it, so I do try to put it in an appropriate location.
There you have it.
Yes.
I do old TV show things on Facebook.
Yeah, so you can follow old TV show guy, or you can follow runner chick.
Well, I'm a regular guest on the Nick D podcast. That's
Okay.
Nick DiGilio. He used to have a show on WGN Radio here in Chicago. Now he podcasts and does other stuff. It's a lot of fun. You should follow Nick. But every month when I'm on with him, we talk about my my guest spotter stuff, where I watch Gunsmoke, or I watch Adam
old
12.
TV.
Yeah.
Old
Gunsmoke
TV.
was really good TV. I don't want to get into it now. But you can find a lot of people before they were people.
Before they were
shows.
people. Got
Also,
it.
Adam 12, which was on in the early 70s, late 60s.
Mm-hmm.
I've talked about this before. L.A., there were great cars on the street in those days. Crazy stuff.
Okay.
So I take pictures of those too.
Okay.
All right, it's quiz time.
Okay. Because we've stalled enough.
We have, yeah.
Okay.
This is our last quiz of the year.
It is.
You need to win this one.
Okay. Which means you've probably made it really hard.
I didn't intentionally make it hard or easy. The topic is electric lies. 5 questions plus a bonus question. You need to get at least 3 of the total questions.
Yes.
5 are automotive, and 1 is always related to the topic of the day.
Yes.
All right, are you ready? That's the bonus question.
Yes.
All right. Electric lies, I'm going to read you 2 statements. One of them is a lie.
Okay.
You need to identify the lie. Are you ready?
Okay.
All right. Number 1, the BMW i5. That's the Electric 5 Series, and I've got it on the brain. I just drove it. It was very
Clearly.
good. Starts under $60,000. Or the i5 eDrive 40, which is the base car, is rated at 335 horsepower. One of those is a lie.
And they're both about the electric vehicle.
Yeah, the
So-
i5 and the i5.
I think the price is a lie.
The BMW i5 starts under $60K. It does not. It starts at $68,275.
Okay.
I'm
I'm on the board.
You're on the board.
Woo!
All right.
Sugar high.
This one's easier.
Because we both had donuts.
Jill, you're all into manufacturing.
Totally totes into manufacturing.
Totes.
Totes.
Yeah. A gigafactory
Okay.
cranking out 1 gig's worth of batteries is producing. So a gig of batteries, about 13,000 batteries a year, or about 207,000 batteries a year.
Okay.
1 gig.
What I just heard was wah, 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 wah. Yeah.
A gigafactory.
A gigafactory. Yeah. My husband would probably know this because he's a tech geek, but I don't. So say that again.
Sure. A gigafactory cranking out 1 gig worth of batteries is producing about 13,000 batteries a year, or 207,000 batteries a year.
13 just seems really low. So I'm going to go with the other one.
No, it's the 13.
Is the truth?
Yeah.
Wow.
Wait a minute. Which did you say was the fake? It's the 13 you said was the
13 is the fake.
Yeah. No points for you. A gig is basically 1 billion watts.
Okay.
And 1 car battery is about 80,000 watts.
Okay.
80 kilowatts. So you're looking at about 12,500 batteries at 80K. It's easier if you just round to 100 and just know that number's a little low.
Okay. I'm still hearing wah, 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 wah.
All right. We're not going to worry about it. But
Okay.
gigafactory, measuring batteries, battery production by battery capacity is a headache that will never go away.
Yeah.
I just give me a number of batteries.
Yeah. But you're saying 12,000 some odd
500.
is the actual number
1 gig
in
is
a
probably
year.
about 12,500.
That just seems low.
But there's gigafactories that are like set up to produce 50 gig of batteries.
Okay.
So it's a measure. Anyway,
Okay.
I think we just lost everyone listening.
Probably.
All right. Lithium Suslick is an emerging EV battery technology being embraced by Stellantis. Or Suslick is Russian for gopher. One of those is a lie. Lithium Suslick, S-U-S-L-I-K.
I've never heard that word, so I'm going to say it's Russian.
It is, yeah. Susslik is in fact Russian for gopher. You have 2 points.
Okay. Yeah, I'm like I can hear Randy giggling through the glass on the other side.
He majored in Russian.
And he's laughing harder.
All right, you've got 2 points.
Okay.
Because you doubted Susslik.
Yeah, you know what that word makes me think of? Sassenach.
I don't know what that is.
It's like a term for like Outlander. I believe it's like a Scottish term for, yeah.
Okay.
But that's what it sounds like to me.
Right.
Okay. Sorry.
Is there anything there we can link to in the show notes? Are you ready?
The Outlander series.
Okay. Question 4. The 2025 Chevrolet Equinox EV now starts at $34,995, or the 25 Chevrolet Equinox EV now starts at $37,495. One of those is a lie.
When you say now, do you mean as in for 2025 or like...
These are 2025s, and they did recently introduce their new entry-level model.
All right, I'll say 34 is the truth.
It is the truth, yeah. So for the moment, as long as there's a tax credit, you can get that baby for $27,500 plus stuff.
And without Apple CarPlay.
With the kit, you can buy the kit to install Apple CarPlay. That's, for people who don't remember this, someone is producing a kit that basically goes into the root of the system and just activates it.
Yeah.
It's there.
Of course it is.
It'll be interesting to see how GM responds to that.
Give us Apple CarPlay.
Are you ready?
Yes.
All right.
So I've won, right?
Yeah, you've got 3.
Because I now have 3.
Yeah, you win.
Okay.
A kilowatt equals 1.34 horsepower, or a kilowatt equals 22 horsepower.
I have not been able to make my brain work in kilowatts, which clearly is shown by the whole gigawatt thing.
See, if you had read Gene Lindemood, you would have been ready to do that, because we also 0 to 62 mile an hour times.
Well, that's from
Europe.
Kilometers per hour.
Yeah. So we're used to doing the automotive conversions.
But my brain is wrapped around that because of the rally, the Rebel Rally. I've got all of my measurements for running in kilometers. I can do that conversion.
Okay.
Not because of automotive, but because of running.
Yeah, we'll do this one.
Say it again.
1 kilowatt equals 1.3 horsepower, or 1 kilowatt equals 22 horsepower.
Yeah, I literally have no clue. I'm going to say 22.
That's 1.34.
Okay.
So the number's relatively close, and I don't know why electric motor outputs have to be given to us in kilowatts. Horsepower is a number we use.
It is. It is the number we use.
Yes.
There's an app for that. Remember we were talking about apps at the very beginning?
Yeah.
App.
Are you
Use
familiar?
the app.
Are you familiar with a JIL? I think it's JIL.
So I'm familiar. I don't know if it's the same Jill. I am familiar with a Jill, like a Jill of beer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a half of a pint. That I know.
It's half a pint?
Yeah.
That is not what I understood it to be. I
Yep.
thought it was like a very big jigger.
No, it is a half of a pint. You want to know how I know that?
I sure.
When I lived in England for a year, everybody called me half pint.
Hello.
Yeah.
All right.
That's how I know that.
It comes up. We used to watch some. I can't remember the name of it now, but some YouTube channel. It was an excellent cooking in the 1700s
Okay.
show, and a Jill was a measurement that came up fairly often.
Half
But
of
I
a
thought it
pint.
was smaller than that. I thought it was like a big jigger.
No.
And a jigger's like a shot and a half.
No, all I know is
People
that
need to know this stuff.
everybody
this is
called,
educational.
They're like, oh yeah, hello, half pint, and I'm like, why is everybody calling me half pint?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, Joe.
Because I'm short.
Yeah. All right, you got 3. You've won. Here's the bonus question, because we do the bonus question.
Yes.
The Tonight Show.
Okay.
Been on TV since 1954, currently hosted by Jimmy Fallon.
Yes.
I don't watch it. I don't like Jimmy Fallon.
I like Jimmy Fallon.
Do you?
Yeah.
Well, good. Then you'll probably get this one correct.
I don't watch it either, but I do like Jimmy Fallon.
Joe, which of the following guys hosted The Tonight Show between 1957 and 1962?
Okay.
I know that's a popular period for you.
Totally, because I was alive during that time
You're
period.
like a big pop media fan. Historic. Just tell me which one of the following guys was the host. Are you ready?
Okay.
Johnny Carson, Delroy Lindo, Peter Frampton, or Jack Parr?
Okay, the only person on there I've heard of is Johnny Carson.
I've heard of him.
But I don't think it was him because I feel like he might have been in the 70s and 80s.
Yes.
And I don't think it was in the 50s. I don't know any of the other guys.
Weirdest thing I ever saw on TV was David Byrne of the Talking Heads being interviewed by Johnny Carson. Neither one of them wanted to be there. It was two different planets. Neither one got it.
Okay.
All right. So you're ruling out Johnny Carson. It leaves Delroy Lindo, Peter Frampton, or Jack Parr.
Is Peter Frampton like a singer? Or
Maybe.
a musician of some sort? Because that name sounds familiar.
I wanted badly to sneak that past you.
So it's not him. Who's he singer or player or whatever for?
Frampton?
Yeah.
He's just a famous guitar dude.
Okay.
He did a horrible version. Well, I hate Peter Frampton.
Okay.
But he did an album called Frampton Comes Alive. And in the Wayne's World movie, they joke that every kid gets a copy of that album when they move to the suburbs.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, so...
Peter Frampton.
Not Peter Frampton, not Johnny Carson. Okay, so what were the other two?
Delroy Lindo, Jack Parr.
I have no idea. No idea.
Jack Parr.
Okay.
He's the guy. Delroy Lindo was in Get Shorty. You would know the actor if you saw him.
Okay.
All right, we have 4 minutes left. Then the year is over.
We have 4.5 minutes left.
Oh, my bad.
You're trying to take the 30 seconds away.
Here's the thing about that. If someone is producing your show for you, you can kind of goof with it because he'll fix it.
That's true.
Which is why producers should get donuts sometimes.
Yes, they should. Lots of good donuts, apparently with cream cheese icing.
Oh, man. Any resolutions?
I don't really do New Year's resolutions. I do birthday resolutions because my birthday's in January.
Oh.
So I get an extra 20 days to think about it. But I have to say...
Wait, when's your birthday?
January 20th.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Which, by the way...
Minutes before mine.
Which, by the way, is the same birthday as Denise McCluggage.
As Delroy Lindo.
No, Denise McCluggage. We talked about her on a previous episode.
We did.
Her birthday was also January 20th.
We had mentioned that to some people she was prickly. But she was an excellent writer. She knew her job.
Yeah, you'll have to go back and listen to a couple of weeks ago to understand the use of prickly.
I worked with people at Consumer Guide older than me that had nothing but respect for Denise McCluggage.
Yeah.
So, but they were like a half generation older than me.
Yeah.
And they knew her better. They knew her work better.
Yeah, and I only met her as an elderly woman because she had already done her thing and was nearing retirement.
Yeah, she was freelancing at the end. Yeah.
But one of my favorite stories, and I'm totally taking up time with this, but one of my favorite stories about her was, she looked like this frail older woman and was not, let's be clear, she was not. And she got pulled over for a speeding ticket once. And she literally hunched over the steering wheel. And she had driving gloves on and took her driving gloves off and sat on them. And the police officer came over and she was going something 100 in a 35 mile an hour zone or something like that. And the police officer was like, no, possibly couldn't have been this woman. And completely let her go because she was just
wow.
Hello? What?
Cops have never, ever showed me mercy for every reason. Here's a thing that auto writers probably know. If you get pulled over for speeding and you're in a test car, and this has never happened to me.
Never.
Once the cop realizes that you're sober and that you're not a threat to society, he wants no part of you because the whole chain of custody and ownership of the car thing is so confusing. He doesn't want to do it. Just slow down.
Okay, I've never been pulled over in a test vehicle, by the way.
Really? I have a couple times. I've been driving them for 20 years now, and I've been pulled over 3 or 4 times, and they never, ever want to deal with, whose car it is. The minute things seem like they're normal, just slow down. All right.
Well, I will say I was in a car with a journalist when they got pulled over, because they, were going, 75 or something in a 35, 45. Yeah. And so he gets pulled over. And at the time I was dating a Chicago police officer and he was going to get out of the car and he was going to go back and talk to the cop. And I was like, do not do that. Put your hands on the wheel. Say yes, sir. Say no, sir. Do not put down your window, but do not make any sudden movements. And he's like, but I just want to go back. And I'm like, no. Cause the then boyfriend had told me, he was like, yeah, if you ever get pulled over, he's like, the best thing you can do is is put your hands on the wheel and make sure your window is down, and then just say, I'm going to reach into the glove compartment for this.
I always pretend I'm asleep.
Yeah, no. But this guy had it was like a $400 or a $500 ticket. So that police officer in California had no compunction about dealing with the mess of registrations.
Interesting.
Yeah. All
right. We have wrapped up not only a show, but a year.
Yes, a year. Happy New Year.
What a year. I don't think we missed an episode.
No.
Well, all new episodes.
Yes.
That's why people should follow us.
Yes, because we're
not
awesome.
because the show is good or accurate or funny, because we never miss an episode.
And we're awesome.
Yeah. All right. That's it. Big thanks to Damon Bell.
Yes.
For joining us. Damon Bell of Cars.com. Thank you, Jill. Thank you to producer Randy. I'll talk to you next year.
Oh, yeah. Next year.
All right.
Remember to check us out at consumerguide.com.
The Car Stuff Podcast is produced by J-Turn Media.
To advertise on the show, please drop us a line at carstuff@consumerguide.com.